All right, it's recording in progress to my computer. I'll upload it to our YouTube and deal with it later. So,
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks,
okay.
John.
Yeah.
I still don't have the credentials to do that. Jeremy and I haven't quite connected to get me linked to the Gmail account that allows me to do the YouTube also.
I'm on my laptop, so that's why I don't have a camera. But hi everybody, I'm here. It's really John.
We're
Not
gonna.
AI, right?
It
Yeah,
sounds like
Yeah.
this is the bot. This is John.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
Hey.
Hi, Joe. So I'm gonna try sharing my screen and bringing PowerPoint over to the one desktop. I have PowerPoint set up just show on the one desktop so that it doesn't cause the confusion that we had before. So I'm going to say screen one. Let me actually check something first. Yeah, see, now it's backwards again. It's so bizarre. I started to have this weird thing that where Zoom does not what Zoom thinks is my desktop one, my monitor one versus two, is opposite from what Windows thinks it is sometimes. And right now it's in that mode. So I'm going to ask you guys again, once I share, if you can see so that thinks that's screen two. I'm going to share this screen. So,
No. Okay,
PowerPoint.
we got the introductory screen there.
okay, so I'll move this out of the way. So I won't be looking at the camera because it's on the other monitor, but I'm going to, oh, so now it's over there. Oh, God. I don't understand this at all. Sorry, I'm going to try moving it here and trying it. And right now you're seeing Markarian's chain or you're seeing DVAA astrophotography
Yep,
works.
we're seeing Markarian's chain.
So it still thinks it's that monitor. Wow. That's totally bizarre. Okay. Let me try moving this over. I don't understand this. And I've worked in computers for most of my career.
And worked in them long enough to know they're a pain in the butt.
They are a pain in the butt.
Same thing
They're a
here.
pain in the butt.
Yep.
I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to try. If it doesn't work, I will just do it like I did last time and then I'll figure that out. So screen,
Did you want to go through the PowerPoint?
I do.
Then if you brought that up again, and I think you can get somewhere up on the left corner, there's a icon to start slideshow.
Oh yeah, no, that's not the problem. It's just I have PowerPoint set to just play on the primary monitor, so it only shows on one display instead of having it like full screen on one and then the slides on the other. The problem is when I go to do that, so you're still seeing Markarian's chain, correct?
No,
No.
DVAA workshop.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I just switched which monitor it shares. Perfect. Okay, so we'll see if that works. So you're seeing DVA astrophotography, now you're seeing agenda.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. So last week we talked about uh, sort of a flow for the meeting, and I was a little bit uncertain if we would do sort of a jump into a question and answer session or if we should do more of a show and tell session first. And after thinking it through, I think I'd like to try doing the show and tell first because um, first off, the meeting should encourage people to actually, take images or show some things that they've been working on, even if it's equipment based, things like that, or techniques. And the other factor is that during show and tell, things are going to come up that are really like Q&A topics that we might talk about later. So I'm thinking that from a sort of flow, this might work out better because it always seems to me over the last couple years that we spend a lot of time talking about stuff and it's all good stuff. But then near the end, we kind of get rushed with, hey, does anyone have anything to show? And then it's getting late, and then people are dropping off, things like that. So if you guys are good with that, I'm thinking that we'll change the order a little bit. And I think a lot of stuff that comes up in the show and tell will actually be general discussions too. After that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sandy.
No, I just cleared my throat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm thinking also that, we're not always going to have presentation topics, but if we do, if it's a long topic, then we would probably need to skip the Q&A session because we might run out of time. If it's a short topic, which I think a lot of them will be relatively short topics, maybe it's a half-hour presentation, then we would have plenty of time to do both a short presentation and a Q&A session. So first off, are there any new people that are joining for the first time? It didn't look like it when
Yeah, I
I was
didn't think so today.
What's that?
I agree. I don't think we had new people today.
I don't think we do either. So then, from a show and tell standpoint, does anyone have anything new or something that they've been working on recently from an equipment standpoint, techniques, images, things of that sort?
Oh,
I can show you a tribactinol filter, a mask.
Yeah. That came in, Wayne. You got a chance to use it?
I got it. Didn't get a chance to use it because I was counting on using it at the observing clinic and seeing
yeah,
how
we
it
got
worked
rained out.
on someone else's telescope that was the same as mine, but badly out of collimation. And so I did not get a chance to actually use it, but I got it so I could show you what it looks like.
Okay, that's great. So
Bye.
I'll stop sharing.
Hi, Barb.
Yeah, that was Barb.
Yeah.
Hi, Barb.
Okay, then. Wait a minute, just sharing the screen won't help me. Okay, well,
Oh, you're gonna
I
hold
got
it up. Yeah.
this is a regular Bactinoff filter. This one has tabs, so it just hangs on the end of my objective. So that's a normal a mask designed for focusing. So that I've used that a few times, and that comes in handy. Now the Tribactinoff filter looks like this, and as you can see, it's got a hole to fit the central obstruction on the Smith Cassegrain, and it's basically 3 Bactinoff masks in there, and then it comes with this mask which goes over it, and the idea is you can use this to let's see, you put this thing on so that this lines up with one of the screws, and then you put the mask on, the opaque mask on, and that isolates one set of lines to collimate, and then you can turn it to the next set of lines to collimate that, or adjust that, and then back to the third set over here. At least that's the understanding I've gotten from what I've read. And somebody on, I guess it was Cloudy Nights, where they were developing this stuff, somebody wrote a software program for free that you can run on a PC laptop that will automate this and give you much more precision than you can do visually. And it tells you exactly what the position is and how much do you have to adjust it by. So that in concept, that's what it happens. Since I haven't had a chance to try it, I can't give you results. But,
Wayne, do you know what the software is? Is that just like some open source, or is that like a plugin for like Nina or?
no, it's a self-contained program, I believe,
It's a
for
3D.
Windows.
It's a mask generator.
What? No, I meant
No, there's software written to analyze the view. You hook a camera up to your laptop, and it analyzes the camera image to tell you how much you have to tweak the screws in order to get it right.
Got it. Okay.
How far out of collimation that screw is, and so
Yeah.
you adjust that screw
This
by
mask,
tightening it.
I printed
Yeah,
this
that's a
one.
triback off, right?
I printed this one off of the website where they gave you the generator, and I plugged in the dimensions.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I don't have a 3D printer, so this came from somebody on that Etsy, and it came in the 2 pieces, so that you can make a cardboard mask to cover 2/3 of it, or whatever you want.
Wait, is the concept with that mask, the opaque mask, that you're sort of doing one screw at a time?
Yeah.
So when you rotate it, then you're working on another of the three adjustments?
Yeah, you're adjusting one axis at a time, and so you get, a regular backed and off mask, you get the 3 lines going through, and well, by using this mask, you get 3 lines that are in line with one screw, and so you adjust that screw, and you go to the next screw with this mask. Otherwise, you see 6 sets of lines, or 3 sets of, yeah,
Yeah, it's 3
6 sets of 3 lines.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So I guess you would have to, because with collimation, sometimes, or typically, if you're tightening one, you may need to loosen the other two, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So, but you're only working on that, like that segment.
That axis. Yeah.
Yeah, that axis.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So the mask helps you isolate that axis, so you know what you're adjusting.
Yeah.
And so you're either tightening that screw and loosening the other 2, or vice versa. And then you go to the next screw, and wherever your errors are, whichever axes your errors are. So that's the concept. But and then there's the software. One of the guys on the forum wrote this software program to make evaluating the image and the screw adjustments easier.
I brought that up on my computer because that's the one like on cloudy nights again you're talking about, right, Wayne?
Yeah, I think it was cloudy nights.
Yeah, it's called SkyCal Focus and Collimation Tool.
Can
it's
somebody share the link?
That's
I don't
it.
have the link. I mean, again, if you look on cloudy nights, but I'm sure if you Google that, and it's done by a guy called Chris Dowd, D-O-W-D, who did the
That
program.
sounds right. Yeah.
So, and again, I kind of looked at that. Interesting is that, your thing, Wayne, has that thing that rotates. I picked up one from Farpoint, and mine's more like Bill's, that, it's just, like the other batten off masks, except for the design being different, it's just one single thing.
Yeah, well, this was, I looked it up, and there were a bunch for sale. And this guy at Etsy, I like the design of this, and the fact that you could just get the mask, the Tribactinov mask, or you could buy it with this piece also.
Oh, so that's extra. That's extra then.
Yeah, it was extra. Yeah.
Okay.
It was total was like $13 or something. I don't know. It was not much, and so I figured, I saw directions on how to make a mask out of cardboard, but I figured
easier to buy.
Get it.
$13 well invested.
Yeah,
It
it
was,
sounds it. Yeah.
it was under 20, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So if it makes collimating an SCT easier, it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to trying the software, but like I say, I need to get my Schmidtcast out in a good night. And one of their newer members has this almost identical OTA as mine, and who took the front column. He opened up the telescope to clean everything because he bought it used, and put the front corrector back on. And so he wanted help getting it collimated at the clinic. Well, we got rained out, so that didn't happen. So I was all set to try this out and find out exactly how it works on a telescope that was way out of collimation.
I found a link to Cloudy Nights and put it in the chat.
Okay.
It shows the software.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about collimation, I took a picture of Mars and I stacked them, and it came out a little funky, and I'm wondering if you guys have seen this before. Let me quick share, because I don't know really how to remedy this. So let me share my screen here.
Sure.
I'm gonna hope this works. Um, let me see here. Can you guys see this photo I have of
Yeah.
Mars?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I stacked this, and it was funky in that, I thought it would come out just totally circular, but with this fuzziness around the top, heading off to the top left, but not the bottom right. So I'm wondering, is this a sign of like bad collimation, or is this a sign of like an angle, like maybe the camera wasn't on plane um with the light train or something? Like, has anybody ever seen anything like this before, or have any idea on what might be the root cause?
I mean, it could be like glare. That's one possibility.
Do you have the video
Glare.
that you stacked? Can you play the video you stacked?
Let me see.
It could be
I don't know
stacking.
if I have it handy.
I mean, I've seen that kind of pattern with a star, which could be collimation. But again, it is possible that your camera could have been tilted, also causing that.
I'm thinking tilt.
I'm guessing that your hardware's fine. It's a software problem, but that's just
May I ask how the transparency was
yeah.
when you shot this?
I don't know. I'm still getting my feet wet on this stuff. So
Was it high in the sky or was it low to the horizon?
I think it was low. It was
Yeah.
lower to the horizon. And I know like there's one side would be bluer or one side would be redder, but just kind of this fuzziness was different. So I kind of I'm going to stop sharing this and look for
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
look for my movie of it.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was the camera angle. It could have been some type of glare. Um, I don't know. I think I just got to try it again and kind of go from there.
yeah, I mean, haze, like what Joe's going down the path of sort of haze in the atmosphere can cause sort of that ghosting type of look too. It's interesting that it's asymmetric, but if Mars is, relatively bright, so you can, if it's not exactly on axis, you can sometimes get an off-axis kind of a glare or like flare almost.
Okay.
Sort of like a lens, not quite a lens flare, but
Other thing that I was thinking was perhaps you were starting to get a little bit of dew on the camera itself.
it's another good
Um,
possibility. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it might be instructive to wait for a really clear night and then maybe shoot a star that's high in the sky and see if you get that same pattern. I think that might rule out whether it's an internal reflection or not. It doesn't look miscollimated to me. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. It doesn't look like miscollimation related,
Yeah,
and it
I'm
doesn't.
thinking that too, because a lot of times miscollimation, it'll look soft. The image will look more soft, not so much like what you're showing.
Yeah, and it doesn't really look to me like atmospheric refraction either. Usually you'll see colors. I mean, bright, rainbow-like colors around the edges, and that's not jumping out at me, at least. I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see what one single frame out of the video looked like
Hmm.
It's
before
almost
before he stacked it.
it's almost like it instead of stacking the best 10%, it's like you stacked all of them.
Do you recall, Tom, if you picked the best when you were setting, did you use like auto stack art or something like that?
Yeah, I right now I'm just using the ASI studio tools.
Okay.
So basically when I stack them, I try to do like 90% um pretty much all the way, like either sharpen it as much as possible, um use 90% uh or like the top 10% of the frames, and then yeah, just go from there. It's just I kind of play with it, and whatever gives me the best image, I go from there.
Yeah.
It shows really nice detail, I think. I mean, Mars is really small right now. I mean, I think that was a rather remarkable capture,
Yeah,
if
it's
it's
just
small,
5 inches too, so
yeah,
it's not like a yeah.
You could
it's
try on the
really
moon
quite good.
tonight too.
This is I just got a text from Mitch Berger. This is the lowest on the horizon, um, full moon since 2006.
Oh,
So it must be in Sagittarius somewhere.
huh.
But yeah, so take a look a little later if it's
Yeah.
clear. Great, huh?
Yeah. Last night I happened to catch. I was actually taking out trash cans, and I saw it kind of in the trees, and I'm thinking, well, I'll wait for it to get higher, and it's
Right,
sort of it just kind of
right,
hung there. It
right,
was
right.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
It was hazy. I mean, it was kind of cloudy, but it sort of lit up the clouds, and you could see it. It was quite
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I think the next time it gets as low as 18 years from now or something.
Yes.
Something crazy like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So going back to what you were talking about, Bill, how much longer are we going to be on the planet? 18 starting to get a little bit out there.
Yeah.
Well,
Get
you
it
know
while
you're
you
doing
can.
something if you're booking a viewing of Halley's Comet.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's why I don't
Maybe,
get
well,
my
oh, go
that's why
ahead.
I don't get my 8-inch Schmidt cast out very often these days. I'd rather use my little refractor. It's a lot easier on the back.
But maybe while Tom, I mean, is looking for the video, does anyone else have something they'd want to share or from a um, recent captures or something like that or equipment or something?
We
The
have a
only
couple of slides. I mean, that all is dependent upon whether I can. I mean, anything can happen when I try to share my screen, but I could try to share some images that I have, if you guys are interested.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, Joe. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, please.
Um, Let me see.
Joe, we always want to see your images.
Joe, when you're done,
Thanks.
I did find that AVI file that or sorry, it was SER file
Oh, go
that
ahead.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Wait a
yeah.
minute.
Go ahead, Tom, while you're
Let's
while we're
let's
on
do
the
yours.
topic.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll finish it off real quick. Hold on a minute. That's video. Where are we at? Share. Let's see if I can do this and then share. Okay, so this is it. And so it is, each frame is like that.
Interesting. I tell
Can
you,
you all
that
see
almost
that?
does look like dew.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking alignment somewhere because I'm looking at the right side of the sphere from my viewpoint, and it's missing.
Oh no.
You're not getting the whole sphere there,
Yeah.
and you're getting
Yeah.
the uh, the halo around the other side.
What type of scope are you shooting with, Tom?
This is a 5-inch Celestron. It's a XL, sorry. It's a SCT,
Okay.
Omni XLT, I think it's called.
Yeah.
127 millimeters.
Do you know how to do a star test on a SCT?
Yeah, I mean that's a good thought. Is go to something different, see how that behaves.
All right.
You said it's
It was lower in the sky when I took this, so that could be it. Could be haze,
Yeah.
or it just could be like my neighbor's lights or something like that, some kind of glare. I don't know.
okay. It's a Schmidt-Cassegrain.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Because they use the same numbers for different scopes. Like I have an Omni 150 XLT that's a Newtonian. Okay, and sometimes they get a little confused, but I'm thinking, I've seen something like that when I was redoing my Schmidt, and the primary mirror wasn't indexed dead center. It was off slightly after I had to clean the corrector plate and put it back in. So,
How
that's
did you
why.
fix it?
Yeah. If you
Did you
did a
take it
star,
apart?
Yeah, I took the corrector plate off. I left the mirror. I didn't touch the secondary mirror at all. Well, what it was, there's these little tiny cork spacers that they use to center the corrector plate, and
Right.
apparently one of them fell out, and I didn't realize it because I saw it on the floor the next day.
Hmm.
When I
Oh
put
wow.
that back in, it made a difference, and that's where I've seen that before. I'm thinking something's out of alignment.
So you might just want to
Yeah.
check the collimation on that with a star test.
Okay.
If you get that same pattern with the diffract, when you off focus and you get the diffraction rings, and it's kind of looking like that, then certainly it's a collimation issue.
Okay. All right, good,
Yeah.
good. Hey, thanks for all your inputs here. I was kind of at a
Yeah.
loss on
I think
how to
something's
address
out of
this, but
alignment
I
or
got some
something's
thoughts now.
it's either that or a tilt.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks
Stop
for
sharing.
sharing.
Oh yeah. Okay, forget who was going to go here. Was Joe?
I think Joe.
I guess. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. See what happens. So,
Let me see the slides. Yeah, there you
just
go.
Oh, nice.
just a couple shots. I
Oh,
shot
so
this.
Joe's mooning us, huh?
These are just some shots I shot earlier in the spring. And this was the first time I tried to shoot a panorama on a crescent moon. So this is maybe a 3-day-old moon. And one of the interesting things about it is after I shot it, and I had a lot of difficulty with this because as it's setting, the illumination on the moon, because it's low in the sky, it's constantly changing, So I had all these separate images, but each of them was darker, so I had to lighten them and darken them and everything like that. But when I was done, I kind of liked it, except the moon's not symmetrical now, and I guess that probably has to do with atmospheric refraction, as it was setting,
That's
um,
interesting.
because it just looks odd to me anyway. But that
It
was
looks like an
one.
egg.
Yeah, it looks like when I saw
Isn't
it,
it
I thought
strange?
it was
Yeah.
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if there was differential, atmospheric refraction, and that's why it's looking the way it is. But I haven't been able to figure that out, but I kind of
Could
enjoyed
that
it anyway.
could that be an effect of libation? Am I pronouncing that right? When the moon's kind of tilted
Well,
a
I,
little
I
bit
don't know
more.
that the vibration would change that much though while I was shooting it. I did it over like 2 hours or 3 hours or
Oh,
whatever,
while you were shooting it.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think the libration changed so much, but the position of the moon above the horizon certainly did. And I'm wondering if maybe that's why when I lined all these images up, and it's done automatically in software, it just didn't line up right. But I kind of was interested
Cool.
though in how much, even though, we don't usually look at crescent moons, but it still had a fair amount of detail. I thought, like, and I don't usually look at the moon. I'm thinking, gee, I should really observe it while it's a crescent and not wait for it to be, a first quarter moon or a third quarter moon or whatever. But anyway, so the following night was the night that the Firefly Aerospace landed their lander on Mare Crisium. So I shot this when it landed the lander, they were showing the first images and they were in twilight. And I thought, boy, I wonder where it landed, Well, as it turns out, it landed on Mare Crisium. And so the following evening, I did a mosaic of that. Um, so that's Mare Crisium.
That's
Well,
great.
oh, thank you.
nice
I think
detail.
that was I think 11 panels on that mosaic.
Wow.
Wow.
We're gonna Joe, just as a little like
Mhm.
a little notice, we're gonna come back to this lunar topic a little later if
Okay.
okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
sure.
you can continue showing what you are showing, but I don't mean it
Okay.
to be like now, but in terms of future uh, presentation topics,
Of course.
there's been a request from one of our members for Joe Lamb to
Oh,
specifically
man.
Joe Lamb
I have no
talk
idea who
about
that was.
lunar. I don't know who that was, Brett. I'm not sure who
Right,
requested it.
right, right.
And
Oh, sure. I
anyway,
mean,
beautiful.
I'd be happy to. Um, so the other thing that I thought I might share with you is the fact that like I'm noticing over the last year or so, it's been really difficult for me to get out and shoot deep sky objects. And the reasons are varied, but they're not all bad. We had 4 grandkids in 4 years, and we've been spending a fair amount of time babysitting and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a really wonderful thing. But it seems like the one night in 30 when it is clear, um, I'm usually tied up with something to do. So late last year, I made a decision to look into a remote imaging site that is in Texas. And what I was looking at was kind of like just a bare bones setup that I could send out there, a real simple, that would have a fairly simple workflow. So I contacted one of these sharing sites called Starfront Observatories, which is in Rockwood, Texas. And I decided to send a rig down there. And I just wanted to show you the rig real quick. It's a NASCAR 400 f5.6, and it's mounted as you can probably see on an AM5 mount. And I'm running it through an ASI Air. And this is the final setup that I sent. For about a month, I would come home and every night and rewire it and I rewired it and rewired it and rewired it, and it's like, man, I better, my wife says, you ought to get off the pot, at some point, this is like, you know, I spent the entire spring, the Horsehead Nebula was in the sky and the Orion Nebula and, all these wonderful things in Cassiopeia, well, months and months and months later, they're setting in the west, and I'm still trying to figure out a good way to wire this thing. So I finally decided, man, I got to send this. So I sent it out in 3 packages. One of them got lost. Finally, everything made it there. And, I really had a lot of trepidation about it. Am I going to be able to do this? What happens if it gets out there and I don't know what I'm doing? And, I wasn't really sure how to download the images, and I wasn't really sure how to connect with the ASI Air. And I would read, night after night, I'd be reading everything online and everything. And some things still weren't making sense. And I said, I'm just going to have to do it. So I sent it out there, and, I'm happy to report that everything went rather smoothly. I mean, there were a couple of little glitches, but everything seemed to work just fine. And for the most part, I find running the ASI Air remotely is very much like running it, from my backyard. There's really not that much different about it. And downloading the images turned out to be relatively simple. And the staff there was very, very supportive, it really seemed to work out. So, of course, I don't have much in the way of showpiece objects to show you because they all set. And the summer things aren't up yet, but I just have a couple of images and I just wanted to share them with you very quickly.
Hey, Joe, what camera is that?
It's a 2600.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I don't have a filter wheel. I don't have an image rotator. I don't have, I'm not using, a flat taking device of any kind. What I did do was shoot a library of darks and bias and flats, before I left. And, we were speaking a couple minutes ago about using a RASA versus using this. I had been using RASA for several years. And the one thing that I do notice about this, first of all, the exposure times are much greater because I'm shooting at f5.6, not f2.
Yeah.
But the other thing was, it's so much easier to get an even background on these images using a refractor, and I just wanted to share that, sometimes, I would have to do somersaults and, I got flocking material and went inside the RASA and tried to darken it and everything like that because, it kind of, it's really difficult, challenging, I think. It was, at least for me, to get it, even backgrounds on deep sky objects. And, these may not be perfect, but they were much easier to achieve with a refractor. So just
Okay.
But
That's a
so
good
I just
data
wanted
point,
to,
'cause even with like fast Dobbs, right? Like the lower the focal ratio, in other words, the faster the optics, the more critical things tend to be. And that's just, a fact of
yeah,
optical physics.
right. Yeah, and I come from the Hyperstar days where I started with the Hyperstar, and I was constantly fooling around with the collimation on that. When I got the Rasa, I bought it secondhand, and I was really happy that the collimation was like perfect, and it never changed, throughout the time I was using it. But the reflections and the rings that you would get on the image. Sometimes, they were very challenging to remove, and sometimes I'd spend a couple of hours on it. I'd go to bed, I wake up the next morning, I turn on the computer and there's more rings, like it seems like it would kind of follow me around, So, and I noticed with the refractor, I wasn't getting that. The trade-off, of course, is that instead of spending, 2 hours or 3 hours on an object, I'm spending 10 hours on an object. The nice thing is that the Texas skies tend to be clear, a little clearer than here. Although I did start shooting in May, which is the cloudiest month in Texas. Of course. But overall, I think using a refractor is much easier than where I come from, where I kind of started out.
Joe,
So,
Joe,
yes.
how are you connecting to the ASI AR? Are you going through like a VPN connection to it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
And I didn't know the first thing about a VPN, I mean, but they helped me set it up. They sent me the link, you put in the software, they give you a code, and all of a sudden you're connected.
right.
I mean, it was quite easy.
And
And
and that
then,
I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
And that observatory, they have rates based on the like the swing radius, right? It's like the
Exactly.
small rigs are
Right.
like
I
40
had to measure.
48
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah. I had to
Yeah.
measure the swing radius on that, and it was like 2 inches under. And so this package is the least expensive of the packages you can get. And I think I had about 2 inches to go on each side before I would graduate into the other, the next higher category, So, I mean, this is really kind of a bare bones thing, um, bare bones setup. Uh,
What size refractor is that, Joe?
it's a 400 millimeter lens. And when I bought the lens, it's a NASCAR, it's a 5.6. I did buy the reducer. And, that was like 3 weeks. Do I send the reducer? Do I not send the reducer? I decided not to send the reducer. So if anybody wants to use the reducer, I do have it. And maybe in a year I'll send it out and, maybe shoot from, 300 millimeters or whatever, 280, whatever it is. But I was trying to get a trade-off between, shooting some galaxies and having a wide field, and I kind of settled on 400 millimeters. But
So
there
it's
were there,
it's a 70 millimeter.
yes, yeah, it's 70 or close to it. Yeah, it's a 5.6. So the exposure times I'm using are about 3 minutes at 5.6 for the individual subs. And it's pretty warm out there in Texas. I try to shoot it minus 10 degrees. But out there, I've had to shoot at 0. So I took darks for minus 10 and 0 because it's up well up into the 90s there at this point during the day.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
You have some images that you shot.
yeah, I just a couple of early images that I took. These are about 11 hours each for the first two. So
Wow.
that's
51.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's 11 hours. And I could probably go more, like the background is still a little noisy. I guess I could go 20 hours, but that was one of the images. And I'm sorry, this that's 101, of course.
Yeah,
Really good.
beautiful.
That's
Really
11
good.
hours. And this is the Hercules Gal. Now, this is like I'm thinking, what am I doing? Trying to shoot the Hercules cluster with 400 millimeter lens, but that's the Hercules Galaxy cluster. And I did that because I had the moon in the western sky, and that was coming up in the east. So I was trying to shoot opposite the moon. This was only about 5 hours of exposure.
That's
So,
great.
They got a bunch of them in.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very nice.
We'll call it Joe's Deep Field.
that's right.
yeah. Well, I'm just starting out, so I'm looking forward to really shooting, the lagoon and some of the Scorpius objects and Cygnus objects. It's just kind of funny starting, in galaxy season. But anyway,
Yeah,
well, that's
no,
it.
but still, it's amazing though. Even with a small refractor, the cameras, are so good nowadays. The small pixels and everything, how much
Right.
detail you can get.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, I certainly wouldn't go any deeper than this. I mean, this is really kind of like a little crazy, but I thought I'd give it a go. I tried to shoot this once before with my Rasa, and Hayes came in and everything like that, and didn't get a chance to do it. So I figured I would just see what I would get,
Yeah, that's
and
great.
got some things. So that's it.
Very
What
nice.
kind of Bortle skies are out there, Joe?
Well, if you look on the map, it's one. but almost 2. So my guess is it's probably a little darker than Cherry Springs. The one advantage is that usually, it's about maybe eight nights a month that are clear. And the other part is that, if it happens to be a clear night, you can connect to the ASI Air in minutes. There are a couple differences with, shooting from home. I have to turn the equipment on there. So I had to use a device that turns the equipment on it, and it looks like it's called a CASA. It looks like just a power strip, but I can go on my phone and actually turn each one of the plugs on and start things that way. There are other differences. For instance, in the ASI Air, by default, it would give like, minus 75 degrees longitude. The longitude there is 99 degrees. So I have to change the coordinates. It's 31 degrees latitude, 99 degrees longitude. So I had to change all that.
Oh, because it was picking it up from like your phone or your tablet?
I guess so. Yeah, I
Oh,
guess
that's
so.
interesting. Yeah, because
Yeah. So,
it doesn't know where it is.
I had to do that,
Oh, that's
And
fine.
the other thing is, I have to run it through a PC. So, and the ASI Air is an Android device. So I had to use emulation software that I loaded onto the computer so it would run an Android-based program. So I use this stuff called BlueStacks, which gamers use. So instead, if they wanted to, play a game on their phone and they got home and they wanted to run it off the computer, they could run it off the computer. So when I turn BlueStacks on, I get all these really weird AI images of scantily clad cartoon characters and everything like that. So I made this cardboard thing. Yeah, so I made this cardboard thing so I don't have to look at it while the images are coming in. So I mean there are some differences, but really not as much as I thought, and I was really kind of surprised that that worked out as easily as it did. I mean there were a couple little hiccups, but the staff there was very friendly, and you always think, God, I must be like the dumbest person here, when certain things don't work out, but they were really very, very nice, and I'm pleased so far,
Great. It's great. You have good results so far, and you're just getting started. So
Really
that's
nice.
really
Really
encouraging.
nice.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but thanks so much for your kind words. But anyway, I'm gonna get
That's
rid of this
awesome.
now.
I'm glad the BlueStacks is working because it wouldn't work last year.
Right.
That's great.
Thank you.
Who else has some stuff to show? Anyone? Anyone been playing with stuff?
I was picking weeds yesterday.
Weed?
Weeds.
Weed.
I did a little experiment when I wasn't able to make it up to the Big Dipper Lodge at this past DVAA outing due to some my wife's family some medical stuff came up with her mom. But at the end of that sort of episode, it was still close enough to the new moon that we wound up driving up there. Her mom lives about halfway between here and Cherry Springs. So instead of taking the car to her mom's house, I took the van and I threw my small refractor in it, my TV-85. And it was all last minute because we didn't even know if we were going to be able to go, depending on how the situation worked out. But it turned out we were for a couple, and we had actually two nights that were, one was good, one was like windy as all heck, and it was very difficult to image. But I figured, why not? I'm up, we're up there. I got the scope set up. I'm going to let it run. People say even if stuff has like buffeted from the wind. Let the software figure it out. So anyway, I decided I'm going to let the software figure it out. I'm going to give this a try. So I wound up shooting Markarian's chain, which I shot 2 years ago in April. So it would be apples to apples. It was the same equipment, same location, and same month. So the position in the sky was about the same. It was like 2 weeks apart. And the only difference was back 2 years ago in 2023, I used a one-shot color camera. And this time I used a mono camera. So I thought I'm going to shoot the same target with the same equipment with the mono and see how it compares. So I put together a little comparison of my results from 2 years ago, and then also what I just got this past April. So I'm gonna try this again, and I believe I'm set up the same way as I was when I did the other thing. So we're gonna. Oh, I guess I have to. 1 second. I gotta get the controls for this out of the way so I can hit the share button. Okay, so I'm going to hit the share button. I'm going to do screen 2, even though it's screen 1. And I'm going to say from beginning. So you should see Markarian's chain, one-shot color versus.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So these are those. This is what I did 2 years ago. And I had posted this on the the DVAA email group back then, and this is what's on my Astrobin page. So this is one-shot color camera. It's a ASI 2600 MC Pro, a Teleview TV85 refractor, 85 millimeter f6 refractor with a focal reducer. So it winds up being around it's around 480 millimeters, so around f6, and I'm sorry, f4. It's an f7 native, so it would wind up being around f5.6. No filters. I was in a dark sky site. There were no filters used. The ASI Air Plus, an AM5 mount, and a 30 millimeter guide scope with a small mono guide camera. This is about 3 hours and 10 minutes worth of data. It was 38 5-minute subs, and I kind of rarely shoot anything that long, but when I'm in a really dark sky site, I'll check the saturation, and the background sky is so good usually that I decided to try shooting this kind of on the long side, especially at that focal ratio. You can kind of get away with it. So this is what I shot 2 years ago. And then this is what I shot with the mono camera. I tried to frame it the same. There was a little bit of camera rotation, as you can see, but it's effectively the same framing. So this was shot with the same thing except the mono camera, and using Antlia, their 3 nanometer. I shot luminance because I wanted to try an experiment to see if it really helps to have a luminance, channel. I shot RGB, I shot hydrogen alpha, and I shot oxygen 3. Same equipment, except I had changed the guide camera somewhere along the line to the 220. I think it was when ZWO had their sale like last Christmas, because I needed a guide camera for something else. So this was shot this past April. Total integration, this is different. So the other one was around 3 hours. This is 3 times as long, but a lot of it is the luminance and the H and the O. So from an RGB standpoint, it's actually they're 1 hour each. So it's 32-minute subs for each of RG and B. So it's 3 hours. So from an RGB standpoint, compared to the one-shot color, it's the same amount of integration time. So the one-shot color was 3 hours. The RGB portion of this data is 3 hours. and then I blended in the luminance channel. They say you should shoot approximately for your luminance, if you're going to use luminance in a mono setup, you should shoot that equal to approximately the total of your RGB. So I was going for 3 hours, but I only got 2 hours and 32 minutes because I shot that second night when it was really windy, and like there were a lot of frames, like probably 20% of the frames were just, the stars were just smeared. I mean, the telescope was getting buffeted. And then I shot oxygen that night. So I didn't get quite the same amount of oxygen as I did hydrogen. I shot 2 hours of hydrogen. I was only usable frames were about an hour and a half of oxygen. But I thought it's what I have. It's a fair amount of data. I'm going to put it together. At face value, when you look at it at this scale, I'm just going back and forth, one shot color to RGB, HO. I kind of actually like the one shot color a little better. I like a little more of the whiteness in the galaxies. Here I have hydrogen alpha data, so you can see a little more of a red cast to it. But where the difference between the one shot color and the mono really shows up is when you look at a blow up. So what I've done is I've just cropped. It's the same resolution. I didn't change the native image. I just cropped it and then enlarged it for the slide. So I tried to get the field of view as close to apples and apples as possible. So if you look at the one-shot color, again, this is the same optical tube, same focal reducer, same setup. Even with the bad data from the second night and letting the computer kind of like do its magic in terms of having a lot of frames and knowing what pixels are outliers, stuff like that. This is where you really can see the difference in terms of the detail that the mono setup allows. The reason, you're getting the blue from the hydrogen, from the O3 filter, you're getting more of the red, whereas here in the one-shot color, you're not getting that. It just kind of looks like dust lanes, kind of like brownish dust lanes. But even in terms of the overall sharpness and focus, the thing is, when I looked at this, I thought, oh, well, maybe the focus was a little off, but it was actually probably better on the one-shot color. It's just that you're not getting every pixel is not a usable pixel because of the Bayer mask. So these are the eyes galaxies, and NGC 4435 and 4438 close up. This is NGC 4402 and then M86, one shot color, and then the LRGB HO. And even in here, that 4402, you can see those dust lanes have much more detail. Even the core of M86, you can see like this little section here stands out. You can see more of the gradation in the core. And I tried to keep the processing like the same processing workflow, other than that it's mono and you have to, combine it into an RGB composite. But noticeably clearer looking and noticeably more detailed. This is with an 85 millimeter refractor. So I am zoomed way in. If you go back to that original image, this is what we're looking at. This little square here. When we were looking at the eyes, we were looking at that little square.
Yeah, it's remarkably sharper.
Yeah. This is the really zoomed in on 4402. Now you can see here when I did the recombination of the stars, I didn't do the screen. I just did pixel math. So I have a little bit of dark rings around the brighter stars, and that's just because I didn't know how to do that as good as I know how to do it now, using more of a screening layer rather than just adding in the data. So that's really artifact. Those dark halos around the brighter stars is really artifact. That the technique that I use now does not is not sensitive to that artifact. But just the detail in that galaxy, and this is zoomed again way, way, way in. I mean, we're looking at that. We're looking at that galaxy right there.
That's really amazing, Gary.
Now, Gary, if you take the raw data from the one-shot color and reprocessed it, you said you know better techniques and that you learned with the mono. You think that would sharpen things up a bit?
I don't, it would get rid of those halos, but the rest of the techniques were basically the same. The only thing that is different is that the deconvolution that I used back 2 years ago was that the Easy Suite. It's called Easy Deconvolution as opposed to Blur Exterminator. But when I'm using Blur Exterminator now, I have it dialed way, way back. When I first got it last year, I just used the defaults, but it's way too aggressive. It just makes it look fake to me. It just looks way too fake. So if you look here, the noise is a little better in this because I have more data. I have 9 hours worth of data versus 3 hours. But it's not significantly different from that perspective. So I do think it would be a little sharper, Sandy. And I maybe I'll do that as an experiment. Just go back to that old data and then do that as an experiment. But I remember when I took that one-shot color, I was really happy with that image. You know, that like that to me was like that's really cool. And I'm still happy with it.
Now, also the question is if you put in as much time on the one-shot color as maybe you did on the mono, what kind of difference that would make?
One-shot color. I probably put more time just because I wasn't that familiar with the tools back then. So I'm much more efficient now. So it's a little hard to answer that just because I was still learning PixInsight. I mean, I had just purchased PixInsight, and I had just purchased that 2600 camera like 4 months earlier. I think it was. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was the previous year. I bought it in the previous year, but I had just I was probably 3 or 4 months in the PixInsight when I did this, the one-shot color. So I'm sure I could get it better because the tools are better now. But I don't know if you would get that much.
It looks like a different pixel scale. Like, because just when you look at the stars, the separability of those tiny stars, on like this example on the top right corner, there's 3 little stars in a row, little asterism.
Yeah.
And the other side is a line. It's like remarkably, it's like you have twice as many pixels.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's the same optical, same image scale.
Yeah.
But you have 3 times as many pixels effectively.
Yeah.
Right? If the Bayer mask is a RGB is the Bayer mask, where in the mono camera, every pixel is every color.
Yeah.
So you do have way more pixels. Now, I didn't drizzle it. I could have done like 2x drizzling on the one-shot color back then to kind of, effectively give me better image scale or a more compatible image scale. But I didn't have a lot of frames when I did this. If you go back to the original shot, I had 38 5-minute frames.
Yeah.
It's not quite enough in terms of when you've been signed out.
Oh, don't touch it. Oh,
What did it do?
that's because I logged in as admin after you. So I just don't touch anything and move that window away and ignore it.
Okay, I moved it to my other monitor.
There you go.
And then if you look at this cluster of galaxies, it's the same kind of thing what you were talking about. John, in terms of that detail. You look at
Yeah.
these stars here. Look at these stars here.
Right.
Yeah, it's sharper. There's no
Yeah.
question about it.
But maybe I'll do that, Sandy. I think that's a good suggestion. Let me go back to maybe for next month. I'll go back to that old data and reprocess that using the exact workflow that I use for this now, which would be a dialed back blur exterminator, things like that, and then do that comparison again. I think it will come out better.
I mean, I think what I've been taught is, certainly the purists will say that the mono is always going to, from sharpness and everything, will outdo one-shot color camera. But, to me, the advantage of the one-shot, because I originally started doing mono, was that I'd start to do an image, and then, I changed the filter, and then, I wasn't that great and realizing, oh, you got to refocus again. And then all of a sudden, then the clouds would come in, and I, had such limited time because I was working full time. I never seemed to be able to get a full set of everything to put it together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with the one shot, I just let it go, and if it's staying nice and clear and nothing screws up with the little gremlins, then I just try to get as much time as I can doing imaging now.
Yeah,
And
and
when I used to,
I'm with you on that. I'm not giving up my one-shot color cameras anytime soon
yeah,
because
I
I
mean,
think they're great and they're
like,
as convenient as it can be.
well, you guys will appreciate this. My morning habit is to look at the astronomy picture of the day and the amateur astronomy picture of the day. And I think, yeah, in the amateur astronomy one, they give much more detail. The other one, they don't give any image, details. But one guy, I don't know if it's sometime this week, 650 hours worth of exposure. I mean, I don't know if I've lived that long.
That
Oh,
was that a group of guys, Sandy?
Yeah, I think it was the one where it was a group of
Yeah.
guys. Yes. But 650 freaking hours. Jesus.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
When I first started going down to Chiefland, I wanted, quantity instead of quality. So, if I can get an hour and a half and it looked like something, all right, move on to the next image.
Yeah.
Now, if I go down there, if we have clear skies for, the 2 weeks we go down and we get like good 8 days, I'm lucky if I'll walk away with two objects with, and I try to get like, 10 hours at least on stuff. And, signal to noise makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
So here's the annotation with the IC and NGC objects listed, and then I always like to do this. So this is with the adding in the PGC galaxies.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stars that you see, quote stars, are galaxies. So if we zoom, I'm going to zoom in on this upper left corner.
Hmm.
So if you zoom in on that upper left corner, all of these stars, quote stars, are galaxies.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So when you look at something like this and you think, wow, that's a lot of galaxies, this is really what that field of view looks like in terms of galaxies. And you can clearly see they're non-stellar, right? On a lot of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are so tiny they look stellar like that. That one has a little line to it. This one looks stellar. But you can see a lot of them are little lines. They're not dots. So anyway, that's it.
Wow.
That was great.
Well done.
That was really nice. Very nice.
That was
Very
excellent.
nice, Gary.
Thank you.
So the like tonight with the full moon, even though it's kind of low, I'm planning with the one scope to be shooting H alpha, which should be okay with that full moon, as opposed to, I mean, what would you shoot tonight with a one-shot color that would really get you anything decent because of the full moon?
I mean, globular clusters might be
Oh,
something,
okay.
right? Not a lot of nebulosity. Well, there isn't a lot of nebulosity right now anyway.
Well, I'm gonna start shooting I think
Hercules
North
is
American.
isn't Hercules well placed now?
Double stars. You can do double stars when the full moon's up.
Yeah.
I was gonna start on NGC 7000 with the monoscope, North American, which is a nebula. But if I'm shooting hydrogen tonight, I thought I'd be okay.
Yeah, you probably would be. I've done that experiment. I shot hydrogen, um, and sulfur you could shoot too. Sulfur wavelength is close to hydrogen alpha.
Okay.
They're both very red. So that would work on a mono camera with a bright moon. It's amazing when I look at the raw frames, like when I'm looking at the at like the H alpha. And I do like gradient correction. I'll do gradient correction on each of the the filters. It doesn't do anything on the H alpha and the sulfur because it just doesn't see that information. It doesn't see that sky glow. And
The downside, as Sandy mentioned, is that you spend a night shooting just H alpha or a couple hours based on the weather. We may not have another night that you could capture any data for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes shooting H alpha, you can get some really neat results, just pure H alpha.
Pure H alpha.
That's why some guys, when they shoot luminous, the mono, they use the H alpha as the luminous channel.
Okay.
yeah, Hercules is like almost at the zenith.
Yeah, it's a good time for that tonight.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to do like a M13 or something or M92, or what Joe did, the Hercules Galaxy Cluster.
I like M13 because there is like a couple little galaxies around it too. They're
Yes.
little, but it's like kind of a little freebie.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just looking on Stellarium. I see 40, what is it, 4617? Yeah, 4617 is right near there. And NGC 6199. Yeah, there's some stuff. What would you be shooting with, Brett? Would you be using a Richfield scope, your refractor? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Hold on, let me try to unmute him.
Okay, I got it.
There he goes.
It's the 111. It's about a 5.8, I think. It's the Pleiades, the Williams Optics Pleiades, with a 2600 mm and then the SHO and LRGB wheel.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the same filters that you have, Gary.
Okay, the Antlia filters.
Yeah. But that's the only thing I put out tonight because of the moon.
Yeah, I'd give it a go.
So Gary,
Yes.
on your 5-minute exposures, how do you determine ahead of time that you're not going to saturate?
I wind up just I'll shoot a test frame, and then I take the software. When you're doing a test frame, it automatically applies a screen transfer stretch, just so you can see what you're doing. So what I do is I just hit the histogram, and I just bring the sliders. I basically unstretch it. I bring the sliders, the black point to black and the white point to white, and just see what I can see. And if I can just see a couple stars, like the brightest stars are just saturating, I'm okay with that. I don't care. I don't need every star to be unsaturated because they're not. They're really bright. A bright star is really bright. But I don't want the object itself, like if it's the core of a galaxy or the core of a globular cluster, something that has where you want to resolve that information. I just make sure I don't see any of that.
So you take one 5-minute exposure
Yeah.
and then analyze it.
Yeah, I usually start less. I usually start at a couple minutes. If I'm in a dark sky site, I'll start at 2 minutes or something. And just I'll take a test shot. And then like even if you're using the ASI Air, there's that little histogram icon. You touch that, and then you can see that the white point's almost at the black point. It's way to the left of the histogram.
Astrophotography.
I just grab that and I just slide it all the way over to the, or I think you can hit reset too. I think if you can reset it, and then I take the black point and I slide that to black, and then see what shows up. And it's usually not much. And then I'll go up a little higher. Then I'll go 3 minutes and see what I see. So it's pretty rudimentary.
So if you did that in light polluted skies, what would it look like?
It would be washed out. Yeah, the background would be too bright. So I mean, when I'm shooting here, when I shoot in my backyard, the most I go is usually 2 minutes on a one-shot color, and or if I'm doing like luminance, I did on that particular thing, I did 2 minutes. I did 2-minute subs for LRGB, and I did 3-minute subs for the hydrogen and the oxygen. And if I shot sulfur, I'd do the same for that.
Did you change your gain for those luminance?
I don't.
Interesting.
I shoot
Okay.
everything at a gain of 101 or 102.
Yep. Okay.
I never play with the gain. I just put it at that unity gain point plus like a tick in case the programmer, in case the software guy,
keep it in HC.
less than or equal.
Yeah.
You don't trust it?
I don't trust it. No, because that's just a common thing that gets messed up when you're writing code is.
Yep.
So I put the gain, the unity gain for that 2600 is 100. I used to set it for 102 for a long time, and then when I got that mono camera, I got another ASI Air, so I could just dedicate it. And I happened to just 101 was easier to hit than 102, so I left it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anything else? Actually, we have. Yeah, let me just. Is there anyone who has something to show? Paula, you have any like good South Philly? Any good South Philly images?
I am working on a project. I'm about 10 hours into it. So
okay, cool.
We'll
So
see
you're
how the
gonna
weather.
surprise us. You're gonna surprise us in a month or two.
It might be a month or two. It's
okay.
I started playing around with the off-axis guider, and after I let the hammer down on the gun, I took it off. I was struggling with that one, so back away, start over.
Yeah.
No, I'm going mono on the pinwheel right now. So
oh, great.
Hey.
My target is 35 hours, so we'll see.
Woo.
Oh wow. Well, that'll be cool. And that's from your house.
That's from the house.
Oh wow, yeah.
That'll be a great data point. That'll be interesting to see.
I was actually all right, I want to share this. Just to I think I'm sharing my view here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I get to play with every night.
That's some sky glow. That's night.
That's night.
wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good horizons.
I get sunset. I'm one of the few people in the city of Philadelphia. I can see a sunset and a sunrise.
Yeah.
But
play to your strengths.
Yeah. So.
Are you south of Center City?
I am south of Center City. I'm down in Packer Park. So.
Okay.
My old stomping ground.
Yep. So no, I have been playing around. Actually, I was gonna say, I don't know if anybody's played around with the what is it, the Stellaview? What was that thing? The new control system? Yeah, Stellavita.
Oh, Steve has, right? Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Steve, you're muted.
you been playing with that, Steve?
I haven't captured anything yet. The reason I got it was to see if it would be more reliable uh, controlling this Warp Astron drive.
Yeah, I have found it's really good at controlling ZWO shit, which kind of defeats the purpose. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've got a player one camera struggling with that. Oh, the mono system, I'm shooting with that little mini 8 um with the built-in filter wheel. That's a fun little camera.
Hmm.
I'm not familiar with that.
It's let me see here. I think I have,
Seen the advertisements for that.
yeah, let me, so this is my rig. And yeah, it's the camera, cooled camera, filter wheel, all baked into one unit.
Is that who makes that?
Um,
Is that QHY or is it
QH1, yes, thank you. I was struggling there.
yeah, yeah.
But it's yeah, so it's a 5.8. So they're just little, oh boy. I'm gonna say 8 millimeters by 10 millimeter um glass only filters, but you got 8 slots in there.
That's wild.
It's a what, a 585 camera. So
Like
it's
585 sensor.
585 sensor. Yeah. So yeah, in a month or two, I'll show off how it works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll be anxiously awaiting.
But I think from a getting into the mono perspective, which is what they're doing here, is I think I bought this pre-order, so I think I got it for $650.
Hmm.
Tax, title, and license. It was a good deal, and I think if you want to play around and learn mono, that might not be a bad direction to go. Again, I will report more.
Paul, that's the what the Warp Astron drive? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes, you are.
How do you like it?
I love it.
I hear a lot of good things about it.
Unless you want to plug the controller in, and then
Okay.
that's when the barrel goes back in your mouth, and
Yeah.
walk away from it.
Hmm.
That's great. Thanks, Paul.
But yeah, and then I just use the little an N100. The on the front end, you'll see my computer's just zip tight on there. That's the existing controller running Nina, and it's solid. But I've been looking for options, and that's where I was playing with that little Stella Vita, thinking it might be a better option. But
Is that one of the Intel Nook computers or
yeah, $99 little N100. Runs Windows 11. It's bulletproof. I've dropped it 3 or 4 times, chipped all the plastic off, duct taped it back together. It's still going.
that's great.
Yep. Keep it simple, stupid is maybe the best way to do it.
Always. The KISS principle
That's
always
right.
applies.
I will say the investing in that pier was not a bad move. That was one of the smarter things I've ever done.
That's up on your roof.
Yeah. So I don't leave it up 24 hours a day but I'll leave it up for 3 or 4 nights, but that thing is solid. That's the Ioptron mini pier.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
can
looks
take
nice.
some fairly, I've shot in 15-mile-an-hour gusts and I don't drop frames. I mean, that's a pretty small scope, but it keeps everything solid.
And you got the walls to act as a little bit of a buffer for the wind
It
and everything.
it helps, but it gets a little gusty up there.
It's cool. It's a nice setup.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Now I just gotta produce something.
Okay, we're going to hold you.
Great.
Cool. So I'm gonna jump back. If no one else has anything to share, I'm gonna jump back to what it thinks is screen two. So I guess you can see it says presentation topics.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think we have this figured out. So I had a little list last week, kind of a starter list. So I reorganized this a little bit, and it's amazing when you try to reorganize something, and like there's so much overlap in almost any of these topics that you could almost put any topic in any category. But roughly speaking, um, I have a sort of an imaging slash processing category, an equipment setup category, and then sort of background and theory, and then per Brett's suggestion, sort of a what's new corner, which he will champion from time to time. But Brett had sent me an email also. Some people made suggestions last month, and I captured those here. But I also captured some suggestions from Brett, and Brett was kind of funny in his email. He said, not only did I suggest the topic, but I also kind of suggested the people, and with the little grin, smiley face kind of thing. So Joe, that's where one of your topics comes in with the lunar image acquisition and processing example. So Brett is the guy you can throw tomatoes at if you don't feel like doing it. But there's also some stuff from I had made this suggestion, which I can picture kind of Tom Nolasco doing that, the planetary imaging process thing. Um, Brett suggested the having possibly Prasad as a guest speaker to talk about his spectrohelios graph, because that fascinated me, and I know there was a lot of interest in the email group about that. So Brett had offered to reach out to Prasad to see if he might be interested in doing that. But as far as topics go, and this list is sort of a live list, so it'll be updated, and then as we do talk about things, they'll fall off the list and we'll add new ones, or maybe some stuff even comes back. So from an image processing, I had talked about doing something to show you guys what I did with that Star Trails Milky Way composite. I have some new data that I took the same time I was at Cherry Springs. I had my fixed tripod set up to try to capture the eastern Milky Way. So in April, the Milky Way kind of rises sort of flat. It's not vertical like it is in the summer or real late at night. So I pointed the camera kind of east southeast and let it run for 4 hours. And I haven't done anything with the data yet, but maybe next month I'll kind of show how I put that previous image together when I did that more summer Milky Way shot. But we have another request for a short exposure EAA processing workflow, and this one was also targeted at Tom Nolasco. But this is also something where I can see multiple people being involved in that. And again, these would be just short presentations. And I even labeled some of them examples, because it's really just one way of doing things when you're showing something like this. And there are a lot of ways to skin a cat, as the saying goes. And I think that if multiple people are involved, then you also get different points of view on maybe the same topic, different approaches to solving the same problem. From an equipment standpoint, we had talked about how to set up auto guiding for planetary imaging. SCT and Newtonian, I made it specific, SCT and Newtonian. Last month we talked about just someone recommended that we have something on telescope collimation, but collimating a refractor, I think, is outside the scope of what most people would be interested in trying to challenge or trying to accomplish. But an SCT and Newtonian often require collimation, so that would be more specific to those types of telescopes. Polar alignment, that was requested by Thomas. Equipment modifications and setups, Sandy had suggested that. Background theory, I had talked about image scale guidelines. Brett took it a step further and said, how does drizzling and binning come into play with sampling? And I think that's a really good way to combine those topics to kind of like if you're undersampled like I am with my refractor rig with the ASI 2600 or even the 533 as the same pixel size. How would you use 2x drizzling or even 1x drizzling has an advantage in terms of if you have a lot of frames, subframes, and you dither, how can you improve the image quality with the data that you have just by having more data and also applying some of these techniques like drizzling and dithering. There was a suggestion by Brett, a request by Brett in terms of uber smooth. Maybe John, at some point you could give a little overview of like how you did the magic that you did, because I know it kind of blows my mind. And then in general, how does denoising, how do deconvolution tools work, and like how do you get the most out of them?
Yeah,
I can also see that being something that's like I've been using Blur Exterminator now. I used to use that easy deconvolution and easy denoise, which works really well. It's free. And but now I'm learning that, if you use the defaults, seems like it's a little bit too much. So how do you kind of tweak those to maybe get a more pleasing result or maybe get a more realistic result?
definitely. Real quick, a guy contacted me who works on Cyril. And he might be including my Uber Smooth models directly into Cyril in the future.
Ooh,
Excellent,
Ooh,
excellent.
great.
So
Way to go, man.
it's
All
not
right.
there yet, but it's in motion. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love it. I love it. And then Brett had talked about uh, maybe the only thing he feels like he's an expert in is like what is new and like what's about to hit the market, software reviews, things like that. So Brett, I'm going to sign you up for that. And obviously anyone's welcome. We had talked about new processing tools and techniques, but maybe that's a little separate category since we are, a lot of us have geekiness as our middle name. So,
Hmm.
You think so, Gary?
oh, just a little bit. I know.
Little tiny bit.
We all like widgets. We all like gadgets and
yep, tuning
Yeah.
knobs.
my nickname professionally at when I worked in the medical industry is a Gary Gizmo.
oh,
So
that's going to stick.
that's on my
Yeah.
license plate. My wife Tracy, for Christmas when I first got my car, she bought me one of those vanity plates that says G Gizmo. So I can point the finger to myself too. So
Yeah.
Well, I've
anyway,
always said
so
I like it. I like anything that includes or uses batteries.
yeah. So and then in terms of general Q&As, we have just about 15 minutes left. Are there any just general topics, any questions people have? I know we talked a little bit about some stuff before the meeting started with Bill and Richard. Is there anything else anyone would like to ask?
Well, a quick question. Is anybody using the Gemini system for their mount?
I use it.
Joe does.
Have you upgraded the firmware or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
no, I haven't.
Because
I haven't.
I signed myself up for their whatever, like our DVAA group, they have one for the Gemini.
Right. Right.
And I guess with the latest firmware update, they've been having these things where the mount's been locking up and whatnot, especially I guess if you have the PEC turned on.
Right.
So I tried to, I have a friend down in Chiefman help me with that because believe me, when it comes to computers, I certainly have two black thumbs. So, and he tried to upgrade the thing because I have like some of the original ones and it wasn't working. So I sent it into Los Mandy. And actually, it isn't too big because I had 2 units. They charge $175 and they upgraded to 6.11. Because the one that seems to be having problems is the latest one. It's like 6.12 or something like that. But when they did the second unit, they only charged me $30 for doing the second unit. So I thought that was pretty decent.
They're
I'm sure
very
it takes them,
reasonable.
yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
it takes them, 10 minutes to do this crap.
yeah.
But
I
I was just
damaged it.
worried.
Yeah, I damaged the circuit board a couple of years ago and sent it to them, and I was thinking, oh boy, what's this going to be? And I think they did a little soldering, and they upgraded the software at the same time, and I mean, I think they charged me $30 plus shipping. I mean,
Wow.
they were really very, very reasonable, I thought. Um, but no, I use I use my Gemini in a very basic way, just for the moon basically, and I just run it on Lunar usually, and I try to be really careful about polar alignment, and because it makes life so much easier when you're taking multiple videos. It just you don't really have to guide; it just stays in the frame, But yeah, I'm sorry I can't help
Yeah.
with the new
I just
version.
wanted to kind of bring it out to people's attention if they weren't aware of it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, I gave out the question today to the group that, since I had my thing updated to the firmware version, they said, no, that's pretty stable and I shouldn't have any issues. So we'll see if I get it hooked back up to the mounts up here and down in Chiefland if anything goes wrong.
Right.
But
Oh, I hope it works.
yeah, well, laws of physics, shit happens.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone also has, I want to thank Brett also for the suggestions.
Yeah,
Thanks.
they were all good suggestions.
If anyone has any suggestions, pass them along because
Yeah.
this group is supposed to serve your needs, right? It's so as stuff comes up, if there's even if it's a theoretical thing, like why do bias frames do anything? Like what does that even mean? If there's even stuff like that, we can have like a little 20-minute theory section on just basic stuff. And when I was thinking, when I was preparing for the meeting tonight, it made me realize that like I love things like the Sea Star and stuff. I don't own one, but I love that concept where it gets people to just like be productive very, very quickly because you can basically turn it on and capture something and have it be good. But very quickly, people are going to wonder, well, what's really going on here? Or if I want to go further, so there you can jump in. It's a great way to jump in and a great way to have results. But you're bypassing a lot of some of that underlying background and that underlying theory that people that have kind of grown up using film and using DSLRs and using using that you just kind of assume everybody knows that.
That
But I don't think I think that's a bad assumption, right? When I hear some of the questions. So
Yep.
I think topics like that can have some general benefit. And even for people who do or who are familiar with it, I know myself, I always like a refresher because you
Gary,
kind of get by those nuances.
I'm sorry, Gary. That's actually a very good topic because I came into this relatively, not that long ago. So um some of those fundamentals I didn't really need to know when I started.
Exactly.
I mean, and another part of that, which isn't really just with imaging, is I don't really know my way around the sky. Just guys, you guys have been doing a while. You can just take a daub and just kind of point around the sky and nail something with it. Well, I don't know the sky. Just go out visually and figure out where something is in the sky. I gotta bring it up on my app, which I don't. I'm not proud about it. It's one of the many things on my list to learn a little more about, but you don't have to do that with a C star. You just say what it'll show you what's good tonight, and you push a button, and off you go. When I do think it makes people, I do gets people more people into into the hobby because of that, because of the interest. It's so easy. It's so approachable.
Yeah.
But you lose a lot of that. You don't have to learn any of that fundamental stuff on the back end.
Right,
You shouldn't feel bad about that. We had a speaker about 5 years ago, and he was going down regularly to South America to Cerro Tololo. And he said, I was down there for a week, 5 times. And he said, after the fifth time, I said, I'm going to walk upstairs and see the telescope. So don't feel bad,
Yeah.
But even like Brett, you as a really good example, this is clicked with you, right? So
A little bit.
Yeah, but even
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, exactly. But even like people who are just getting into it, if they wind up sticking with it, those questions are going to come up later on. Like, hey, what is really going on here? Or why does sampling theory make any difference? Like we were talking about the image scale stuff.
Yep.
And so I think that if anyone has any requests, send them to me or send them to John, and then I'll keep that list kind of running, and then we'll just start knocking off things and line up people to do short presentation. Joe and Tom and John and
Well, look at the time.
You're welcome, Joe. You're welcome, John.
I want to know how you printed that behind you, Brett. You have like a giant wall of your astrophotograph. What is that?
No, it's not. It's a it's not mine. It's a bed sheet.
Did, did you have that printed?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll send you one, John.
No.
It blocks the other half of the room where the grandkids stuff
Right,
is.
it's a room divider.
there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
That's cool.
It's just something else cool for me to buy.
I love
Yeah. Perfect hobby for that.
Great. Any other questions before we wrap up?
Gary,
Anything
so
else?
okay for me to email Prasad then?
Yeah,
Okay. All
I
right.
think so. Yeah, if you're comfortable doing that, I mean, I'm fine doing it. If you,
I know I'll do it tonight.
That
I
should
would
be
love to.
really,
I would love to
that should
learn
be a
more
great
about that.
presentation. Yeah.
Is there
Yeah,
any?
he went to one of the workshops and brought the spectrohelioscope with him, and he was swarmed by people.
I bet.
One of the Saturday workshops, and everybody was, yeah. I mean, it really generated a lot of interest,
I
and
think it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
and
That I could
if
see being like that could be like a full presentation. Like
yeah,
where we kind of dedicate a meeting to him and do some introductions, and then he does the like kind of like a keynote presentation.
yeah, and not only that, if we know that, for instance, Prasad is going to be at the July meeting, it may be worthwhile to put a little blurb in the newsletter about that, just say it's going to, this month's meeting is going to feature, or on the calendar,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Great.
So,
Well, thanks
During
everyone.
the next month, I'm hoping to actually try this Bactinol thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Good.
going to go to Cherry Springs to Frosty Hollow Lodge, and assuming we actually get into night clear enough to see a star, I'm hoping to collimate my telescope for that, and I'll be able to report next month how all it worked out.
That'd be great. That'd be
Glad to
great,
hear that.
Wayne. Thank you.
I got a question. Is there anybody here tonight that uses a C store besides me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I love the little thing.
I discovered something the other day. My wedge was back ordered for about 6 or 8 weeks. I went through the routine of setting it up for equatorial mode, and where it gives you the readout as far as your latitude and longitude, zeroing it in for polar alignment. A lot of people are complaining about a lot of dropped frames, and I saw it myself, especially up in the 60-second frame drop off rate. It was like you keep one and you drop two. I discovered something though, strictly by accident. When you go through the polar alignment routine and it gives you the angles to dial in, I found that if you rerun that part of the program again or the software again, your numbers may fluctuate. And that's what's probably causing a lot of these frames to be dropped because it's not tracking properly. I think it's coming down to either they have some kind of an error within the firmware. It's not calculating the angles precisely. When I set up for polar alignment with my other scopes, when I set up the tripod, I use a digital leveling device that I paid a few $100 for that I use to set up machinery out in my shop. It's accurate to within 1/100th of a degree. And checking it out with C-Star on my AVX tripod, I was getting fluctuations. So it's definitely either the sensor in C-Star that they have to do a little bit of tweaking with as far as firmware, or it's the calculations calculating the angle you need. Because if I run it 2 or 3 times consecutively, then I'm dead on and I'm not dropping the frames like everybody else is complaining about.
Good to know.
So you want to check that out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Great information.
Other than that, I got nothing else.
Well, we hope you have a nice birthday, and what'd you say, 2 days?
Saturday.
Saturday. Happy birthday.
Birthday, Bill.
Yeah, thanks.
Happy
I
birthday.
they're just another day to me.
That's a pretty big that's a milestone though.
Yeah, well, Sandy's making a big thing out of it, so I tried to I tried to hold off from it, but she was persistent. What do you want for your birthday? What do you want to do for your birthday? I heard it every day. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, have a good one.
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
You guys all have a good night too.
Well, thank you, everyone. Good seeing you.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Good
everyone.
meeting. Thank you.
Good job,
See ya.
everybody. Thanks.
Good
Bye.
night.
All right, good night.
Thanks, John.
Take
I'll
care.
upload this to the website by tomorrow. So or
Okay,
the
yeah,
YouTube.
that sounds great.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.